my life has changed. I'm not exaggerating, but to some extent, the kind of guidelines and principles that I have found out from JK's modules, I will continue to live by those principles for life.
What's going on, Reboot team? Chris here again with another testimonial call with somebody that's coming to us from the Reboot Implementation Program. I am here with Troy to talk about his experience. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing very well, Chris, and thanks for having me here. Really excited.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Thank you for taking the time and making the time. So right off the bat, I am curious as to how you found out about the program to begin with.
When I was actually struggling with this problem, I have tried to recover from this problem on my own. And for some, I would say, for some time, I was able to get to a point where I'm able to, control it. But somehow I felt like just going away from the problem rather than actually moving towards something better was always something I wanted to do. And in search of that, I was actually looking up on Facebook groups for these NoFap communities and other groups where people were talking about it. And I was member of some of those communities, and I was looking at what the peers were doing. And that's where I saw an ad for this program. And that got me curious to see what is this all about. And then I connected and I spoke to Gasper, and he kind of gave me an introduction. So that's how I found out about it. And it's mainly through Facebook groups.
Got it. I mean, right off the bat, I'm curious as to what your experience has been compared to the NoFap community, like the Reboot group versus the NoFap stuff.
So, like I mentioned, the community, the NoFap community is a lot more focused on solving one particular problem, which is to get away from which I understand it's definitely a problem. But then the idea being like two things. One, the community is filled with people like me mostly who are themselves struggling. So I would say maybe there was not really much of an expertise there or advice there. People were encouraging each other, but there was not like a very experts or guidance there. And the second was, like JK mentioned, it's more about moving towards something, changing your lifestyle. Like solving one problem on its own will not go away unless you have a healthier, more productive lifestyle, which is what I think the NoFap community was missing. I really appreciate the effort that they were putting. They were getting people to, get that peer support. But then where do I go towards? That's what piece that was missing there. So when I got into this program, I felt like, okay, it's really not about ending my behavior, but redesigning my entire lifestyle, which is what was different here. And that really, really stuck out with me.
That's so good. I love the way you worded that, redesigning my entire lifestyle. Like quitting, compulsive behaviors and things, like that's the easy part, really, because what we're really trying to construct is like a brand new lifestyle, a brand new mindset. Like when we're talking about rebooting, it's something that we define for ourselves. And we'll talk about your reboot definition a little bit later. But yeah, I love how you touched upon that. So good. So when you first joined the program, so you discover JK, through this particular forum and through Facebook groups, what was it like when you first joined the group?
Yeah, when I first joined the group, I had a coaching call with GT, and then I started joining these weekly calls, and I started looking at Facebook group posts. And then I also found accountability partners in the first couple of months or so. So there was quite a bit of information that was coming at me. And if I had to, pick what really stood out, I would think the community support, in the sense like those calls where I am actually able to talk to people who are going through exactly what I am going through, having that experience of hearing other people and then being able to relate to that. That doesn't happen very often. Like no matter how many times I go to a therapist, they will tell me, but they are not me, and I am not, they're not suffering from the same experience as I am. So being able to connect with peers and hear their stories was really, really impactful. And it kind of gave me a feeling, okay, I'm not alone in this. Because of the taboo nature of this topic, we don't talk about it with our friends and family. So being able to hear other people speak was a very, very big factor in motivating me to go through this. That was big. And then, of course, the way JK's modules were structured, they were a lot more focused on like your biochemistry and how your life works. It's not just about, using tools to get rid of a compulsive behavior, but understanding your biochemistry and how I can use that biochemistry to direct my behavior towards something good. Like once you get rid of compulsive behavior in your life will have a void, something that gets you excited, something that you get look forward to. And if that void is not filled properly with something more productive, it's only a matter of time that your biology will take over and bring you back to where you started. And this level of expertise and this level of knowledge was missing from the greater community that I found out here.
That's yeah, no, I love that you touched upon that. Your body knows, your body has a brain of its own. So I love when you find yourself in like a particular stressful state, your body will just, I mean, we call it muscle memory for a reason, right? It'll just go back to what it's used to. So getting to know your biochemistry inside and out helps with one of our missions of the program, which is to not just cut out compulsive behaviors, but to ultimately become an expert at yourself. That's our goal, and whatever that happens to mean for you. So, and that's where defining your reboot comes around. So I'm glad, again, that you touched upon that. Talk to me about how you went about doing that. For example, what were some of the tools that you learned while you were in the program?
When I was into the program, I initially listened to a lot of JK's modules, and especially the ones which had a little bit of tangible homework to be done. So things like the feelings exercise definitely helped me defining my behavior. Look, there are times, before I was able to really pinpoint why I was acting the way it was. So those tools helped me understand, like, there is a reason behind me acting out. Every time I would have certain bad behavior, some emotional trigger, that is when I would go to the compulsive behavior. So feelings exercise was one. And the other piece, of course, was the reboot planner and writing your wins, and then morning routine. I guess morning routine super important because you start the day with the win, and then having like a reboot planner which gives structure to my life, like what I want to achieve. So the reason why we do have compulsive behavior is our dopamine hit that we get from, acting out. But if I have like a very structured plan on these are the things that I want to do, and I have a checklist of things, I click them off, I tick them off, and I say, okay, more work done. That does give me that same level of satisfaction and positive dopamine hit that I would get otherwise from those compulsive behavior. So reboot planner being a very important one, feelings exercise, and then in general being aware of my mornings. Like morning routine actually feeds into that, but like just being aware, okay, I am not a slave of my emotions, and if I start the day on a positive note, maybe working out, maybe writing my feelings, and getting into the zone that I am here to achieve something in life, those things really set me up for success. I would not say that I am a master of everything. Even today, like there are times when I have certain emotions that get over me, but having these tools brings me back on track more often or more quickly. Like if I derail in the past, I would be, derail for like 2-3 weeks or a month before I come back on track. But now I feel like I've had bad days, but within 2-3 days, I am able to bring myself back on track and continue with the lifestyle that I want to live. So those guidelines was super helpful in this
That's
case
really,
to
really
get me there.
That's really, really good. I mean, I love again that you touched on the fact that, the world is not going to stop turning just because we're dealing with a compulsive behavior. Life is still going to continue. So bad days inevitably are going to happen. But if you have that structure, if you have that foundation to fall back on, you'll be able to continue moving in the right direction, or in the direction, like you mentioned, that you want to go in. You'll be able to pick yourself back up and just continue the journey. So having that foundation, even as seemingly, I don't want to say mundane, but underrated as your morning routine, like you have the power to create the lifestyle that you want to have. And in this group, you're given the tools and techniques to do just that. And not just the tools, we also have the coaching calls, as you know. So I'm curious as to, what your experience has been like with the coaching calls in the group.
Yeah, so I joined for a lot of coaching calls, specifically the ones that you hosted, the Breaking the Cycle calls, did with a few on Coach Milan and also with Orestes and a few others. So the best thing about coaching calls is it gives me, like I said, the peer feedback on how others are also dealing with some problems. So if I were not on these calls, I would never know that this was a problem that others are dealing with as well as and that I am also. Like, was this even a problem? In some cases, like I remember one time when we talked about seeing somebody provocatively dressed in a certain gym or something, and then one of my peers said, like, it triggers the feeling of doing something, but then because I can't do those things, it feels like emptiness in what I'm able to achieve in life. But this is just a biological feeling. It's not something that I need to act out on. So this was like a very good thought, for example, that somebody shared, and I appreciated that. Okay, had somebody not shared that, I would have never thought about it. So getting that peer feedback from those coaching calls, and then the ability to talk to an expert, talk to my own, talk to you about my own problems, and getting that social aspect of my life also met. So both of those things were very important. So coaching calls definitely helped with that, being able to talk to people and also getting peer feedback. And I wish I had been even more regular than I was, but whatever I did, it was good fun.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, you're just firing on all cylinders here. I sincerely love that you're sharing all of this because, I mean, here's the deal, right? Like, these are not easy things to talk about. Whether it's like a compulsive sexual behavior or guys like, become very vulnerable and opened up about some very maybe deep and dark things that they've experienced in their life that continue to influence them to this day and might be a cause to them, acting out. This is that proverbial safe place where you can say these things that are not easy to talk about, but it's an area where speaking it can be a step toward that salvation that we're looking for. Kind of
Yeah.
stripping ourselves of that shame and becoming one with that community. You realize fairly quickly that the more personal something is in these types of issues that we're dealing with, the more personal something is, the more universal it actually is.
Yeah, absolutely. And I almost feel like, there are a lot of things that we know theoretically are right, but having the ability to discuss them with our peers kind of has a reinforcing impact, and that helps with learning. I know there are certain behaviors that I should be avoiding, but I still don't do. But if I talk about it every week, it does slowly go into my muscle memory, and it becomes more and more of a reality than just a theoretical concept that I believe in. So that definitely helps with constant reinforcement within the group as and when I join more and more peer coaching calls. So absolutely love it.
That's so great, man. I'm really, really happy to hear that. One other thing that I know that I wanted to ask you was this, knowing what you know now, what you've learned about how to cope with certain urges, your behaviors, and having, rebooted up till this point. If you knew somebody who had been struggling in silence the way that you and I know about very well, not knowing who to talk to, not knowing what to do, is there anything that you would want to recommend or suggest or say to that person?
So anybody who was in my position before I joined the program, I feel like this comes from a little bit of a cultural background, in the sense, like, maybe in this society, men are supposed to not talk about feelings, not talk about their desires as much as women do. They are considered more comfortable. So if a man talking about their vulnerability, the society kind of brands them as weak and volatile, those kind of things. And that is what keeps us a lot more secretive and a lot more, averted to sharing. And but it's a human nature. Humans would want to share and experience the joy of talking to other people. So if I could go back, or if somebody is struggling from this experience, just, you know express it and talk about it. Talk to as many people as you can and find experts, like the group that we found here were a group of people who were experts in handling those problems. So I obviously searched for them, and I was able to find, because I felt like there was a problem. If I could just think that everything is very emotional and I will solve this on my own, it would have been a failure. The society, unfortunately, expects men to like suck it up and solve their problems on their own. It's difficult, but it's a stereotype that has to be broken, and we as a community need to go out and ask for help. And if I were going back to my younger self, and even for future, any kind of problems that I am suffering from, don't have let your ego come in the way that you can solve it on your own. It's a community. There are a group of people out there who've been there, who who had the experience, and they can guide you. So reach out and ask for help. That will go a long way.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's so, so good. So I guess kind of segueing into another question, would you recommend this program to somebody who might be struggling?
Yeah, so I would think that if anybody is struggling from this program, sorry, struggling from that behavior, not from this program, If somebody's struggling from compulsive behavior, they need to figure out ways to get things sorted. And what this program does very well, these are tools for lifetime, is awareness. Like really knowing this program is not going to change anybody's life completely, but it's certainly going to give me paths to do that, give me the tools to do that. So I'll tell you the way, typically most people live life in reacting. Like, hey, I woke up, I'm looking at phone, my boss told me to do something, I react. My father told me to do something, my bills came in, I have to pay, I'm reacting. And that takes up all the time. But it should be more about doing what I want and planning my life. And that's where the program comes in, the whole reboot planner and things that are all about what I want in life. And I have a path to go forward. If I don't, whether it's through this program or another program, anywhere, every man should be responsible for taking control of their life. And if this program is able to help them chart that out, then they will be on their own journey and others will come on the way. If you don't take control of your life, you will be pulled into other people's lives and other people's journey. You will only be reacting to what others are asking from you. And before you know it, you'll be like, what, 60 years old, and you'll be on your deathbed and you're just reacting to what other people need. That's a life wasted. And I feel like sooner you take control of your life and plan your life out what you want in life, the better it is. I wish I could have done that in my 20s, but 30s probably still not that bad. It's so important to live a satisfactory life, to live on your own terms. And that's where this program definitely helped me. And I will be revising all the modules and notes that I've made, because it's about living life right. I mean, to be honest, that is such a big factor. Uh, my life has changed. I'm not exaggerating, but to some extent, the kind of guidelines and principles that I have found out from the JK's modules, I will continue to live by those principles for life. In difficult times, they are going to be important for me, and it's every person should have that kind of guidance to live life forward.
That is really, really powerful, and I appreciate you sharing all that. Out of just genuine curiosity, what are some of those principles?
I'll tell you, like, the few modules that JK spoke about in the implementation program that really stood out to me, sorry for the language, was like,
No.
like he talked about biochemistry as a module, which talks about how your body works and how your body reacts. Like, there is a term in human psychology, I think it's called metacognition, which is about thinking. So being aware of what my body is going to react, and then using those signals to do something that, is good for my goals. Like, I'll give you a very simple example. We spoke about this in one of the BTC calls as well. Like, I know that my body is going to be tired at the end of the day, and I will not be able to concentrate and work on something critical.
Mm.
I kind of thought, like, at the end of the day, maybe I'm tired in regular. Before joining this program, I thought, like, hey, maybe something is wrong with me and I need to get done. So I will work on this done in the evening. And then I fail because I'm trying to do a productive, big, important work in the end of the day, and I'm tired and I fail. I feel miserable. I start watching, out of control behavior or going for social media and like that, because I feel like a failure. Now that I'm able to understand my biochemistry, I understand that there are certain situations, certain times, certain, how my body works, that I will not be at my best productive self during those times. So don't put myself up for failure by putting heavy tasks on me on those times, and just be light and be more simple, and don't, set yourself up for failure. So now at the evening time after 9 o'clock, I usually do very little heavy work. I just do like cooking for the next day, listen to some music and talk to some friends. I never do some critical work. And I was able to do that because I understand now how my biochemistry works, how my brain works. So having this knowledge has made me so much aware about how to use my own biology to get things done rather than reacting. Otherwise, I would just be a slave to my emotions, my body. If I'm tired, I feel like a failure. I will do something negative. I will not do that now because I know when I'm supposed to be tired, and I will give myself easy tasks to do during those times. So this whole awareness about my body, my mind, my brain, and my emotions, I just never had that. I always reacted to these things, but now I can plan my life being very well aware of how my body reacts and how I can use it to, be more productive in my life. So that I think was the biggest thing that I learned in the entire module.
Yeah, that's fantastic. You know, it's a holistic approach. You know, it's not just treating the symptom, but treating the person. You know, the physical health, the emotional health, the spiritual health, the mental health. Like it's all part of what makes us who we are. You know, like the behavior is just a symptom of something else that's going on. So we're trying to hit, you know, who you are, you know, in as many angles as possible. Your biochemistry, like I said, your emotional health, spiritual, mental, like it all is all like a lock and key to, you know, who you are. So I love, again, the fact that you not only took away that and something you'll continue to carry with you for the rest of your journey, you know, something that a lot of brothers need to hear. We want to know, we want to treat you like the symptom is just a part of you. It's not the entirety of you. And I think that's so important for guys to know. But before we start to wrap up here, again, thank you for speaking your, dropping your jewels, because there's been plenty of them. But do you have any final parting words to anybody who might be listening to or watching this?
That's a lot of pressure, but I mean, I feel like in order to live a good and happy life, it's just important to plan it and be very well aware of, you know, how your body works. I feel like that's one big thing that I took away from this program, and certainly being part of the community, making some really good friends and accountability partners. That's such an important aspect. We all think maybe as men we were, you know, the aspect of why do I need to be in a community was never really that stressed on me. I was always about work hard, become good in your career and other stuff. But being in a community of like-minded people helps, and that is just who we are as social creatures. So find your community and then being aware about your biology. These two things are, you know, I feel like the biggest takeaway from this program, and they are the recipe for being successful in life. So anybody who's looking to join this program, or in general, you know, if you're looking to live a happy and fulfilling life, just know that you have to be a driver in your life. Nobody else is gonna come out and write what works for you. You have to do it. And if you don't, then people will keep pulling you and make you part of their life. And that's not what you want. So just charter your own plan out and be very well aware of how your body reacts. And your plan should be accommodating your biology and your emotional needs. That's how to live a fulfilling life. And it all comes together. And the sooner you take control of your life, the better it is, because it might get really late if you don't do it.
Thank you so much for your time in the group, for who you are now and who you're becoming. I'm excited about all of it. So thank you so much for your time and your insight. All the best to you, brother.
Thank you so much, Chris. Thanks for having me here. And I really loved being part of the program. So thank you so much.